Hola, hola.
Welcome to Daily Invocation, Souls Check-In. Our last day at Immersion Institute for now. Arriving and present, checking in with ourselves, checking in with each other, and connecting.
Mm-hmm.
The bugs and the aliveness of the jungle here.
The scents of the
Shared
flowers.
with you.
I keep falling. Hi, Kathleen. Hi, Bonnie. So we're going to continue our conversation around abandonment this week. We talked about self-abandonment yesterday, and today we want to talk about the symptoms.
Let's just take a moment and invoke into, like we did yesterday and the day before, this inquiry into abandonment, possibility of that. What does that look like? Often for adults, there can be some things that bother us, keep happening to us, keep cycling through. So if we just here invoke back towards childhood when a lot of these patterns and issues can come up or start.
And we also want to remind you that there's possibly a spectrum. So abandonment might seem like a big trauma. So if you've never met one of your parents, for example, or maybe even both, or one of your primary caregivers died when you were young, that's kind of where our brain goes to with abandonment. But we also want to include those of us, I, for example, know both of my biological parents. They were both married and in the home for until I was about 7.5, but there was emotional abandonment. And so that it just colors in a little bit of the spectrum and the possibility of things that may have happened to instill this as a potential core wound.
So symptoms. We were talking today about anxiety. So speaking personal, for example, Brunadera said, "Oh, what's wrong this morning?" As we were packing to leave Imaloa Institute. I said, "Well, nothing's wrong." But I took that opportunity to inquire and said, "Oh, wow, this change of moving is producing some anxiety in me." Well, where could that come from? And again, this isn't a panacea for everything. We're just doing a brief dive here. But we had a great conversation about relating with others and the changes with others and nervousness around forming a new relationship and a fear that it might not happen. Or, for example, on a smaller scale, what is our reactions when we step into a party or social situation, meeting new people?
Which is a really good way to look at it. I know a lot of you have been talking about things opening back up wherever you live, right? Post-pandemic world. And we're seeing a lot of different responses to that. People who want to stay home and continue to interact on Zoom, they have found comfort in that. And then there are those of us that have been waiting anxiously to get out the door and connect in person. So irregardless of how you may be responding to this particular time, just noticing. That's the invitation today. Invoking some awareness around, do I have this as a core issue? And how does it show up for me? And we also wanted to bring into the conversation that the list of symptoms, if you will, might also look differently depending on your Enneagram number, your attachment style, any number of things that you have developed or that are part of your personality. So even within the both of us, we're both having a little bit of abandonment stuff come up around this transition and going into another community and then another one, etc. But it shows up slightly with a slightly different angle and a slightly different flavor.
So there's a complexity to it. Just to pare it down to this one little aspect to look at today in our brief daily invocation, Soul's Check-In. Yesterday we looked at self-abandonment. Today we want to look at in relationships, in relating, just from that scope, just from that possibility, inquiring a little bit deeper, invoking a little bit further into ourselves and looking that way. So that's our invitation for today.
And tomorrow we'll talk more about reframing it. So take these next 24 hours to notice, to have awareness about how this might show up for you, to look at some of those patterns, and then tomorrow we can talk about what to do with that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for invoking with us today, bringing in this inquiry into any abandonment in our lives so we may transmute, transcend. And thank you, Kathleen and Bonnie J, and all our friends. Much love. We'll see you tomorrow.
Adios.